Hello, Jacqueline.
Hello.
Cool. Let's do it. You ready?
All right, ready.
Welcome back. Kasim and John teach Google Ads. Uh, we're going to talk about campaign settings because most people get this wrong, and it's kind of it's a bad place to start to suck because you're like beginning with as many errors as you could begin with, and then it's all just worse from there.
Yeah, it's like if you try to run a marathon, but like the first thing you do is you put like the left shoe on the right foot and vice versa, and you're like, all right, 21 miles to go. Like,
I know
probably
you don't
just
watch The Office, but there's an episode where Michael Scott's running a marathon, and then he needs to carb load, and so he goes and gets a bunch of fettuccine alfredo. He just like loads
that's
up on.
exactly it. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. Your campaign settings not being correct. It just, you know, what's funny is it's almost like little miniature handicaps. Like you could get away with it, but you're just not going to look back at these settings to figure out if that's why it's not performing its best, because you'll look at everything else first. And so the reason why I wanted to make this video today too is whenever we look at another campaign, whenever we take on a new client, we always hop into the settings first. And I mean, 9 out of 10 times, so there's something wrong. And if the 1 out of 10 times, it's like, okay, it technically is wrong, but then, you know, I guess you can get away with it that way. So yeah, I think it's a good place to start because it is. It's like kind of starting off on the right foot. How do you set yourself up so that it's only your strategy that's tested and not just your settings, I guess. So it's a good place to start.
Yeah, well, I mean, really, it would suck to lose on an academic scale. You want to lose on a strategic scale if you're going to lose.
Exactly. I mean, it's like we always say Google Ads is kind of like, you know, a canvas, and everyone that is a Google Ads specialist is an artist with a paintbrush. Well, it's like if you have a broken paintbrush, it's like you're just not going to create your masterpiece. So yeah, we're going to fix the paintbrush here. So let me share my screen here, because I wanted to. I have a standard search campaign up, and I think this kind of is the most common type of campaign, search campaigns, and so I'm just going to kind of go top down. So you'll see non-surgical treatments. Obviously, the client's name up at the top left is hidden, but this one's going to be for a place that does surgeries. And so campaign name, obviously, you name it whatever you'd like. Make sure that it's a specific theme and not just like main campaign. Try to make something that's, you know, at least segmented or something like that has a purpose for that specific campaign. Remarketing, competitors, whatever it may be. Obviously, campaign status is if it's turned on or off. Now, goal. This actually came out after we already created this campaign. It's been up and running for a couple of years now. I think this one's been up since 2016 or 2017. But goal, this one is actually sometimes it can be good. And what I mean by that is if you're looking for general website traffic, yeah, this is a really good area to use for goals. Google's recommendation tab is usually driven by getting the most amount of clicks and spending the most amount of money. Not the most clicks for the least amount of money, but it's most clicks and most money. So if you're going to be looking at website traffic, you can usually follow the recommendations tab pretty much to a T. Now, leads and sales, these sometimes offer recommendations that I don't agree with. I would say about 60% of the time I would agree with them. But what's nice about selecting the type of goal is it just simply gives you guidance in the recommendations tab as to what they think you should change in order to meet the goal that you're looking to achieve. So use this at your own will. Sometimes it's good, and maybe you'll learn some new keywords that they offer as suggestions, or negative keywords, or getting rid of some non-performing keywords. So it's a good idea to kind of use these, but take everything they say with a grain of salt. Just make sure applying it to your campaign actually makes sense.
Can I pause you there for just a moment? Because the Google recommendations can be really dangerous. And so it's worth us stating now that it's not just that the recommendations should be viewed with trepidation, it's that sometimes they're just flat out wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, they just don't know. You know, you could have two campaigns, and I'm just going to use a very simple campaigns. Like one campaign for shirts, one campaign for pants. So you got a campaign for shirts, campaign for pants, and recommendations like, hey, in your shirts campaign, you should add pants because people who look for shirts sometimes like pants. You're like, well, that's already in the other campaign, so it's just completely wrong. Like now you're going to overlap, and it's going to be a bad idea. So just apply it to what your actual goal is, and because sometimes you'll see like just completely random suggestions that contradict other things you're doing in the account because it's a specific goal, or sorry, a campaign recommendations. They usually don't recommend everything for your account. They do it at a campaign level. So think about how that's going to interact with other campaigns as well. Cool. Moving on. This is the one that I almost see wrong every time. First thing that I see, in my opinion, that is wrong is they'll include display network. When you're running a search network and a display network in the same campaign, display networks, you can spend $1 million in one day if you have broad enough targeting, like let's say all the United States and people who are interested in being awake on Thursday. Like just like really, really broad. So when you start a campaign in search, if you include display, often what you'll find is if you have a $20 a day budget, $19 was spent on display outbound and $1 was inbound search. And for some reason, the campaign is just not generating any leads. Traditionally, search is better than display. So that would be one of the reasons. But since display campaign is outbound and you can spend as much amount of money showing ads to people, and search is inbound, it's only if someone is searching for that keyword, there's much more opportunity for outbound campaign to spend money. And when those two share the same daily budgets, it's going to wildly swing one way or the other. So it's usually not very even. Sometimes I have seen it work. It's not going to say it's a hard, fast rule, but generally you want to split your search and your display in two different campaigns. Set your budgets and your goals and your KPIs independently of what am I trying to achieve on both those networks. So my opinion, don't just start with search and display, break those down into two different campaigns. And then including search partners, we always include search partners. Search partners are other search engines that are part of the Google Ads ecosystem, like ask.com. For example, they use ads from the Google's search results to advertise on their website. It's one of the ways that they monetize. But search partners, I think there's like 30 or 40 that I can remember off the top of my head of just ancillary search engines that do share Google. So what's nice about this though is they're less competitive, less cost per click, and they're high quality traffic because it's not inundated with spam and irrelevancy. So we always like to include search partners. You can actually look at the results of those search partners and see how is your standard search campaign on Google compared to the search partners that's in the same campaign. So you can measure those results. Locations. Here's another area that we see often is, in my opinion, there's cases where you would want this, but more often than not, what we usually recommend is when you have your target settings to people in or regularly in your target locations. The recommended is people in or who show interest in your target locations. Usually when people see recommended, they just click on it. But that means that people from other states, cities, even countries who are interested in your target location, which could be Phoenix, you'll start to see your ads shown in different countries. And if anybody's, in Australia and they're interested in some freedom and they like America, you're going to be seeing your ads in Australia. So yeah, that's sometimes you want to make sure that it's in or regularly in your target locations. So
I think people in Australia are pretty free. I don't know if that's
not as free as America. Remember, kids, there's only one A in America. That's right. It was just 4th of July, so I'm really patriotic right now. But exclude
some nasty comments from our Aussie brethren.
I'm just kidding. We love you. Please don't get us banned from YouTube. Anyway, excluded, and then people in your excluded locations. This is the recommended one. I sometimes see people in or who show interest in your excluded locations. Sometimes people choose this one. And that might be a bad idea because as you can see right here, we're in kind of, let's just say Phoenix metro area. But if we're excluding like Tucson, and we select this option, we're excluding people who have interest in Tucson, which that means they're here and they're in our target demographic, but since they are interested in Tucson, they will be excluded from our audience, which is just not a good idea. So understanding
double negative, basically.
Yeah, it's like, hey, this person's exactly where you want them to be, and they're not in where you don't want them to be, but they have an interest in it, so we're just going to remove them. You just got to be really, really careful with this and understanding how these have detrimental results to your campaign by simply just choosing the one that says recommend is a good thing to know. Then here's another one. Most often, and this actually happens by default, when you start a new campaign, it does this. It automatically defaults it to English if it's, if you're in the United States. This is actually technically not correct. For search campaigns, display campaigns, anything that's going to be kind of proactive like YouTube, GSP, display, choose English. But for search campaigns, use all languages. If you have English keywords that you're targeting, like shoe store near me, you want to select all languages because very rarely going to have a person that speaks, French as their main language Googling shoe store near me if they don't understand English. So you just think about people are searching in English, might as well just use all languages. The reason is if they don't set their default browser language to English, or if they don't set their default browser to language to English, they're not going to see the ads if you say only show it to English speakers. So I'm an English speaker. If I didn't set my browser settings to English and I'm only targeting English, I'm going to be excluded from that audience. I can't search for the exact keyword that you're bidding on. So using all languages is important because they're English speaking keywords. Just do all languages because they're searching in English. And that's the way you want to think about it, just for search campaigns. Budgets, again, this is something that is not a best practice. There's two ways you really can do this. Mainly is using a shared library or using it an individual day. Your results may vary, but we usually would like to use individual budgets. Shared budgets are good if you're starting out for testing, but this isn't really a big thing. Next video that we're going to do, we're going to be talking about bidding strategies, the pros and cons and when to use them. So that one's going to be covered in our next video. So stay tuned for that one. This one's going to be a pretty good video. We discuss about all of the bidding strategies that you can choose and where you would want to start and then end up. Start dates, kind of irrelevant. Conversions, you can choose to use the conversions in your conversion column or use the conversion actions for this campaign. So if you say, I have a lead magnet download, a contact form, and a schedule appointment, but this campaign is going to go for all three of those conversions. But if you choose a conversion action, you say, no, this campaign, I just want this to focus on lead generation for the scheduled appointments, and then that's what it's going to use automated bidding for. So choosing, usually you're fine if you just want to choose the all of them in conversion settings, but sometimes I'll see people that will exclude a conversion in their conversion settings, but then go after it in a campaign, and then nothing ever gets tracked, and I don't know why, because they figure, well, I just want to choose the ones that I really want. So some of the wonky things can happen here if you don't choose the right one, but this is usually your best setting.
What happens in the settings if you go back to conversions and click choose conversion actions? Is it going to give you, that was my question. So like conversion actions drop down.
So book appointment, calls, chats, contact forms, concierge. So basically we have 17 different conversion actions, and I can choose which one. So for example, let's go up to the top. For this one, I'm book appointment forms. That's the one conversion action I want to focus on. And while you're still going to see all the other conversions take place, if I set target CPA to $15, the target CPA to $15 is only going to go after that one conversion. It's not going to choose any other ones. So you can have 1,000 contact forms and still have 0 conversions because it wasn't the right conversion that they're trying to bid for. Ad rotation. Sometimes, older campaigns will still see optimized for conversions and rotate evenly, even though these are no longer supported. So those still be able to be selected for old campaigns. But once you turn that off and you select something else, you can't go back. But if you have an older campaign or campaign that's been running for a while, choose optimize prefer best performing ads. Best performing means best click-through rate, lowest cost per click, highest conversion value, highest conversion rate, etc. So we usually, we always use optimize prefer best performing ads. I can't even think about one that we've used rotate ads indefinitely. It's just, there's no really real reason to do that. Sometimes people are like, well, let's just rotate it. I want to see which one performs best. Well, if you don't keep on that, then you're not going to end up selecting the one that performs best, rather just have the algorithm do it for you. So we usually like to use this one. Campaign URL options. This is if you want to use UTM parameters, any sort of custom trackings. I would recommend it if you have it into a CRM tool. We have this actually linked up already to a CRM tool now through API, so we don't use this right now. But again, we have a video about UTM parameters. This is where the area they use that. Dynamic search ad settings. This is if you want to run a DSA campaign, dynamic search ad. You can use the Google's index of the website, usually the best. If you want to only use specific pages, you can use a feed. But if you use the index of the website, then add positive and negative dynamic ad targets. You can do it from the campaign level. So usually just use Google's index of the site. And then IP exclusions. If you know IP addresses that you want to exclude from your ads, that's where you add them here. But this is how a search campaign should look. And that's the networks, the locations, the languages, those are usually the areas that we find are messed up the most. And so I just want to run through each one of them. But yeah, that's going to be how to best set up your search campaign settings.
And tomorrow we're talking about bidding, right? Which I'm really excited about. That's a good video.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It might be a little bit longer video, but it's gonna be really good. I think that we'll go through some examples and we'll kind of share our experience. And since we do run about 350K a month in Google Ads, we have a lot of experience with a lot of different and some things are like, you know, oddities that you wouldn't even really know really took place. But yeah, a lot of good best practices that we'll talk about in that video.
Awesome. And if you have questions, make sure to drop them in the comments. Like the video, share it with your buddies, subscribe, hit John's bell.
Yeah.
And we'll see y'all tomorrow.